Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Alleman Yankee call. It's good to see all your faces. I know that my mom and dad are going through customs, headed back from a trip to Mexico with some family, and I was doing some look back on Jonathan and I's numbers today from now till from year to date, just getting an average of what our submit has been and what our issue paid numbers have been on average for since year to date, just to kind of get a threshold on what I need to do to push myself for the next 6 months to go towards the end of the year. And something that I realized and pointed out to my mom, which I don't know if she even knew, but her submit and her issue paid numbers for the year are still the second highest in the whole FITS group. And I just thought that was cool because I had to send her some love for it. So I was like, dude, did you know that you've been killing it on submit and issue paid? You're the second highest in the entire FITS group, and you've probably traveled more than anybody. I just thought to myself, like, that's a big accomplishment, right? But it has taken years to build up that grit and that skill to where she can come home and work like that and get still such significant numbers submitted and issued, because she's put all this time and effort in over the last 14 years to be able to do that. And I just thought that was really cool. And I don't know if she gives herself enough credit for that. So I had to give her some credit, sent her a nice little message today saying, hey, you've been killing it, by the way. Even during all this travel season that they've been in. So that's kind of leading me up to what I want to talk about tonight. But there was another thing that kind of was on my mind and heart from this last week that also kind of ties in with tonight. And it's just whenever you get into a place of uncertainty or fear, if you're walking into anxiousness or uncertainty or just something new that you maybe haven't done and you're doing for the first time in a while or the first time ever. And the reason that it was tying the two was experience and then just faith that it's going to work out is kind of what's going to lead you through that, right? Like, for example, this last year, even through all the travel that they've done, and I know you guys have seen it, that's why I'm talking about it, and it's just a good example. Throughout all the traveling that they've been doing this year, because of the experience and the consistency that they've had for the last 14 years, it's led them to the point where they can take half the year off and still have the same income, still have the highest numbers in the group. So I just thought that was a cool little thing that I noticed today and wanted to share with y'all. Like, we've got a person leading all of us and teaching all of us people that have not just talked the talk just to talk about it, but have legit walked it and have stayed super consistent to the process and to the team. And this is what it's bred, right? Like, that's pretty dang cool. I hope that in 10 years from now, I can travel just as much as they have this year and come home and still do the same numbers as I would if I were home. Like, that's just really cool to me. So I want to lead into tonight. If anybody wants to thanks, Jeff, for turning your camera on. I don't feel like I'm talking to myself, but if y'all want to show your face, I'd love to see your faces. And I just kind of want to tonight, and if you guys have any questions or anything you want me to go over towards the end of the call, I'm happy to. But I just wanted to kind of talk about some consistency and what consistency has bred for us and a few of the people on the team, and kind of hear some stories that you might be able to relate to. But I kind of wanted to start first by just talking about a story that I have specifically from when I started in the very beginning. And I think I know everybody on here, but if I don't know you, oh, hey, Sharon. Hey, Buffy. It's good to see y'all's face. Hey, Jeff. If you haven't met me, my name is Megan Yakey, and my husband and I, Jonathan, have been in the business for the last 6 years. And when I first started, I'm the daughter of Mike and Michelle. So when I first started, there was a lot of pressure that I put on myself to kind of think that I should know everything, right? Like, I was raised around the company. I was raised around the insurance business. I should know which product to sell. No, it didn't happen that way. So, and I want to share this because it was something that was happening when I was so new that it might have happened with some of y'all too. But when I first started running appointments, I was told and taught that I just needed to book appointments. Like, all I needed to focus on was booking the appointment. And all I needed to do was call my mom, call Michelle, and legit, y'all, I had to change her in my phone from mom to Michelle because I didn't want my clients to think I was calling my mom to get product advice. But so I was taught to just learn how to get really good on the phone and learn how to get really good at setting appointments, and then just call us when you're in the home. And I was like, all right. So I didn't really know anything about the products. All I knew was that there was term and then there was whole life, right? So in the very beginning, I specifically remember multiple appointments where I thought that our term products did not cover somebody if they died accidentally, and the whole life. Like, I just didn't think if you died from an accident, I didn't think that it paid. And so with every single client, I was selling them a term or a whole life, whatever I was there for, plus an accidental policy, because I didn't want them to die naturally and then their family not get paid because of my misinformation. So I sold multiple people multiple products. And actually that was good experience for me because it taught me how to do multiple in the home. However, it was just the product knowledge that I didn't have. So what I did consistently for the first probably a year and a half was every single time I would write a new product, I'd go home and I would listen to the product training video and I would read the product brochure. So I didn't necessarily have to know the product when I was selling it because I had someone to call that was going to tell me which product that I needed to write. But when I'd get home, I'd pull up Gina Hawks on NAA University and I'd watch that product because there is a training video on every single product that we have. And I'd go and watch that and I'd read the product brochure. And eventually, that led to me understanding the products at a deeper level. So I could serve my customers better because I knew more, but that didn't happen overnight. And it's not going to with the new people either. So I just want to encourage you to follow the system, get really good at booking appointments. And as you write new products, go home that night and study it, learn more about it. But unless you have a situation where you need to know that product, what's the point of learning the product? You know what I mean? So I just want to kind of share that and give you some hope that if you do stay consistent at learning the new products, you will be able to do it more. But please, for the love of God, do not go and study all of them before you need them. So I just want to kind of start off there. And I have a couple of other people that I asked to speak about some things that they stayed consistent at and eventually led to a positive result. So Katie, you're the next one I see, so I'll let you go first. If you want to speak up.
Okay, that's cool. I'm glad that you are letting me go after you, because it's kind of what I'm saying is going to feed off of what you were saying about, consistency, but not necessarily knowing about the specific products and stuff like that. So let's face it, when we're new and we're in the home for the first time or the first few times and stuff like that, and there's so many products, the biggest concern that most new agents have is they think that if it's a mortgage lead, that it is there's a need where you need to do only term insurance. Like that's what we're trained on and stuff like that. But the circumstances may not be that that's the best case. So like maybe you've got a 70-year-old or something like that, and you're trying to sell them the mortgage payment protection. But for me, the rationale was like, okay, mortgages are generally through a term type of insurance. That's kind of how we're trained and stuff like that. But that may not be the best case scenario. So the thing to kind of like take into consideration is if the client is a little bit older and maybe doesn't qualify for term, that doesn't mean that we can't help them. Basically, that was one of the main things that took me a little bit of time to do, was realize, what am I supposed to do with these older clients, type of thing. We have something for everybody. That's one thing. The other thing I will suggest is if you're getting a lot of mortgage leads where the client is relatively new in the house, maybe they've only been there they haven't even made their first mortgage payment, for example, and they have no idea what their bills are. You're there, you're doing the presentation, and you're asking like, okay, which one of these is best? They may legitimately not know because they don't have their bills, figured out yet. So something that I started doing like early on, I called it the starter plan. And there's one of two ways of doing it. The starter plan, you can do something similar to the mortgage payment protection. Maybe it's only a $25,000 plan to get something started to where, okay, most people can afford $20, $30, $40 in that neighborhood. So that's one option. And then the other option was I sold them, if they were under 50, I sold them an accidental plan that had return of premium on it. So, and then I would say, I'll get back with you in 3, 6, 9 to 12 months, something like that, to follow up, because at that point you should probably have a better grip on your finances, and we'll be able to revisit this and get something else put in place that's a little bit more of a permanent type of thing. So I sold a lot of accidental in the early days. I know Megan added, as Megan didn't know that was something that would cover by accident, she wrote additional policies. That may have been the only thing that I got. And I still have a lot of clients that have that policy. And then I went back and rewrote additional things too. So I can't think of any specific like stories, but those are things that I kind of like learned. Because ultimately, even an accidental policy is still protecting that family against loss. So when you stop worrying about like go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's a really good way to get into the door. Right. If you don't know what to write sometimes, or you like, that's always a go-to. It's a great starter plan. And listen, none of us know what's going to happen. We cannot predict how we're going to die, right? Like, we just can't. Mm-hmm. So it's never a bad thing to have, and it's always a good way to get into the door. And like you said, it's a starter plan. So it's capturing the client at the end of the day. So if you are having trouble with the older clients, until you can get the hang of it, and by I mean like older clients with the mortgage protection leads, which is what you were talking about initially, was how do you do that? How do you learn how to sell these mortgage protection leads that may be a little bit older, or may just health-wise not qualify? As long as they're under 70, that's always a go-to. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are just a couple of tips. Not, like I said, no real specific stories, but a couple of tips that early on were at least getting your foot in the door. And the last thing I'll say, I know you got other people you want to talk to as well, is if you're in the home and you're working through these type of scenarios, if you give them the confidence that you're going to be actually calling them back, the more that you reassure them that you're going to be their agent for life, the better off you're going to be as far as not job security, but like just being able to be together and help them out with whatever you will be their go-to agent in the future, basically.
That's client. It keeps our clients on our book of business. That's what we want. We want to be able to come back years later. And you're right. It does give them the confidence that you're not just here today, gone tomorrow, like most salespeople are. That's not our game. Our game is we're here with you for life. This is life insurance. That means what you don't pay for is me. You get me with this policy. So
Right.
Good.
Right. So, and that's basically what I had.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Katie. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
That's
You're
some good-
welcome. Lost your audio, Meg.
Oh, sorry. I muted myself. I said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to chat if you do, as if we're creating anything in your mind. But Jeff, I know you had some stories to tell as well. Would you mind? There we go.
Absolutely. Hey, Sharon. I know almost everybody here. Hey, Olivia. Maybe not Buffy, but what a cool name. My name is Jeff Adcock. My wife, Katura, and I have been part of the Alleman group for, over 5 years now. You asked me to talk about some things that, took me a while to get over and how I overcame them. I came on board about the same time as you, and I started getting leads immediately and going full time. But I did not do a single hot knock for at least a year, somewhere between like a year and a half. It shouldn't have made me that nervous because for 5 years, 8 years, I worked for a corporate America, and I had to do 10 not even hot knocks, cold calls on businesses every day.
Tell them what do.
What's that?
Tell them what a hot knock is.
Oh, yeah. So if you're new and you don't know, if you get leads, if you get a referral, and you call them up and they never answer the phone, we don't leave messages for good reason because it just almost never works. But what you can do is you can go by and see those people with the lead in your hand, with code words, with their handwriting, and just knock on their door. It seemed different to me, more intimidating to do it to an individual house. But you know what? There's a video. I studied hard when, I started the business. There's a video on Fitz's website, if it's still there, about hot knocking. It's Mike, what's his face, and Paul Roberts, like a how not to and how to do it. And literally, one day I finally decided I'm going to go hot knock. I had all these people that have never answered. And it was either the first or second one I did was his house. It was being foreclosed on, but it had like a sheriff's notice on the door. And I knocked on the door and I could hear people moving, but I yelled out, "I'm not the sheriff. I'm here about the insurance." And to me, it was just hilarious. Okay. And I did like 22 hot knocks that day. And from then on, it was like, oh, this is fun, especially if you do it exactly the way they teach you, because it takes all the pressure off the people. It's like you happen to be helping their neighbor, had this info, hadn't been able to get a hold of them, don't have time now, wink, wink. And I can't tell you how much business I've gotten off of hot knocks. And a lot of times it's people, oh yeah, I definitely wanted to know about this. They're not going to answer their phone from a number they don't know. And as insurance agents, we know we get tons of calls every day from people trying to hire us. So it's no different, I set up contacts with everybody so I know who's calling. But after that one day of doing that, you can go out and hot knock or just go by and see your existing clients. People are happy to see you. It's basically the threat is gone. If you smile and you're friendly and you're not, forcing them to talk about it right this second, but you can gauge their interest, remind them, And now they know that you're not a threatening person, hopefully. And so they're more than willing to make an appointment. Just like when you do it on the phone, they can't see you. Who is this person? Once they see you, it breaks the ice. Another thing was, I think like most new agents, products and applications. Guys, we got like 26 companies. We have a ton, 60, 70 products. That's very intimidating to a new agent who doesn't know anything about insurance. But, you know, I learned one, Columbian Financial Group, which I bought myself a policy. But even before I did that, what I figured out was Mike Alleman told me, because the thing was, hey, you just got to set the appointment, get in the home, go through the script and call Michelle. And I made sure she knows that I was going to an appointment. Here's what I'm going to be there. And I had backups to call too, but you know, and then basically the first couple I walked out of, they were huge sales. I mean, first one I got, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 to AP. My second appointment was like $7,000 or $8,000 in AP. And I was just like, oh my God, you know, but as far as products, you know, Mike said, hey, look, they're all the same. Name, address, phone number. You can do that, right? Yeah. And then it's, do you have this? Do you have this? I mean, it's yes or no. So on pretty much every question, it's not that complicated. They're all asking the same stuff. Because I was trying to look at them and learn them beforehand, but my brain doesn't work like that. I learn by doing. So my advice is, you know, learn a couple products, learn one company to start with. But when you go out there, and then guess what? You know, if you have it, you can speak passionately about it. I mean, I have the largest Columbian Financial Group term policy you can get with accidental. And I love the idea of living benefits. I'd had life insurance before this, but I didn't have that. To me, that was huge. It's like, this pays if you get seriously sick or hurt. But after that, I never looked at another application again until I wrote the product in the home. You know, and if you want to learn them, you learn them by selling them, okay? And what the can and can't do and the differences between them, I learned them all by selling them. And as far as, you know, what that leads into is, you know, how do you get in the home? I mean, just like you learn these products by actually filling out the paperwork and helping someone and asking them the health questions, that's how you're going to learn that. How do you get in the home? Go into a bunch of homes. And yes, in the beginning, it is uncomfortable. It will take you outside of your comfort zone. I mean, I was always shocked about how we did certain things because to me, it was the complete opposite of what I'd done my whole life, which was B2B sales. And I thought it was very forward. I thought a bunch of things were weird, like the ATM. Why is this like a plastic book from the 1980s? Why aren't we using a computer? But good reasons, because we're using our computers and stuff for other things. And it's just not the same. But so once I wasn't getting the results I wanted in the very beginning, I just said, hey, what does Michelle do? All I have to do is do exactly what she does, because I'm pretty sure, you know, if she can do it, I can do it. And then I came to learn exactly how hard Michelle works, but it was a good example. And the last thing real quick was dialing. I mean, to this day, I almost have to trick myself into dialing. After the first dial, I can dial, you know, until my ADD kicks in and I see a squirrel. But I learned more. You know, I don't really like the dial sessions in person because I don't deal with distractions. I end up talking to everybody and then I can't hear. But I have learned more by sitting next to you, Megan, to Michelle, just to other people, man. Anytime somebody comes in and visits from another part of the country with the Alliance, if they're going to be in a dial, you need to get your butt in the office and sit next to them and listen. Because I've heard, you know, I've seen Michelle, she's yanked the phone out of my hand and other agents, or after we got hung up on them, it's like, call them back, you know, Which I was like, call them back. Oh yeah. I mean, those are the things you learn to overcome. And then all of a sudden it's not uncomfortable at all. I love meeting with people. That's the funnest part of the job. It's sitting down with the new family. Now it's not stressful to me at all. I know enough. And look, you may not know much about insurance when you start, but you know more than they did. You passed the state exam. You know a lot. Okay. If you pass that test, you know a lot. And you got people to go back to. I mean, we're gonna. Greatest thing is I haven't found any other products that are better than the stuff we have. So I know in my heart that I'm doing the very best that's available in the country. I've read a lot of policies from our competitors in 5 years, and we have the best of the best. So, once you know and understand that, then you truly are. I'm confident that I'm doing the very best thing that they can do. I'm going to be the one to help them figure that out.
Heck yeah. Awesome, Jeff. Thank you.
Cool.
That was awesome. I know that Jonathan has a story to tell as well, so I'm going to try to respect everybody's time, let him go real quick, and then we'll close out for tonight.
All right, now we're in business. Man, it's good to see everybody. Yeah, so a couple of things I want to share, but one thing that I was afraid of really in the beginning of the business and halfway through it, past 6 years, was going and running business where the leads were. Because when I started, we didn't necessarily have that many leads in Texas like we do now. We just didn't have the resources that we used to 6 years ago. And so, if we wanted to write a lot of business, we had to, go to another state where there was a lot of leads, right? And that can be scary. It was for me. But what I found is I just said, all right, I'm just going to do it. There's a lot of other people that are being successful with a travel trip. And long story short, I mean, the first time I went out wasn't that great, but I was like, all right, I'm going to go again. And then the second time I went out, I wrote like $7,000. The third time it was like 11 grand. And so I actually had some of my best weeks in the business just going to where the leads are. And it really applies to any part of the business that you might feel uneasy about. At the end of the day, there's somebody in the business that has felt the same way and that has overcome that obstacle, right? There's a book I'm reading called Dream Big by Bob Goff. And I want you to take away this more than my story about travel trips. Like, they do work. They do get you focused, as long as you're willing, right? But in this book, it just reminded me about our business and the importance of taking a genuine interest in other people. Because I've written so much business behind agents that did not take a genuine interest in that person and just sold them and they knew everything about everything, okay? About every product. They were the sharpest tool in the shed when it came to product knowledge. But guess what? They could give a crap about the person, and you could tell. So taking a genuine interest in people will pay you dividends regardless of how much you know. And I really hope, you take that to heart, because it's the truth. That's what people want from you. And the book just reminded me of that. Like, that's what this business is. It's just genuinely taking interest. Like, if you have a hard time, well, then think about your family. Think about your kids. Think about people you really love and care about. You genuinely have an interest in them, right? It's going to, if you're having trouble, think about your family, and it's going to help you take more genuine interest in other people. Because like everything everyone said is great. Like, Jeff's incredible, Katie's incredible. We have a lot of great people. But if they weren't taking genuine interest in their clients, they wouldn't be writing that kind of business, regardless of the product knowledge. Like, it doesn't matter how much you know. I mean, seriously, like it helps. You're going to learn it, but it's second to caring about others. So hope that helps.
Heck yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. Y'all killed it tonight. I appreciate your input. And listen, at the end of the day, it is just consistently challenging yourself and showing up for yourself and showing up for your clients, showing up for your agents. Figure out what it is that motivates you and just consistently fight for that, because over time it will 100% breed success. And you're right, Jeff. Michelle does work her freaking butt off and did for a long time. But what it's led to is what's really incredible. And I hope that you can all see that and maybe want that or something different for yourself and maybe your kids or your grandkids or your niece, your nephew, whoever's important to you. And I hope you fight for that and stay consistent because of that, right? Eventually it leads to good things. It's just how life works. So thank you for all showing up tonight. I appreciate you investing time in your business and time with each other. This is important, and I love you all. And oh, Michelle, you want to give a shout out real quick? I just saw you pop on. I can't hear your audio, but it's okay. We can see your face.
Hey, y'all.
There she is. Oh, nope.
We could
No,
hear you
can't
before
hear
you
you.
put on the remote.
Can't hear you.
Here, use my phone.
There you go.
All righty. Thanks for doing a great call. And we are back in the country. It was some great tips. Really, really was. Appreciate y'all leading the pack tonight and giving everybody some good tips.
Yeah, let's go out there and kill it. Bye. Y'all have a good night.